frankly, Wickenburg is a total loss.
Here is a man with one lettuce, wondering what else he ought to buy. Nature abhors an empty shopping cart.
Couldn't you make this Star Wars collection a full-time job? I mean, forget Wall Street. Well, the Force tugs at me.
Now I gotta talk to you, so you aren't weird.
I still would have gotten a 4.0 no problemo, because film isn't a real major.
Hey guys, TSF and Nippon here. Kexi, a YouTuber superior to me in almost every regard, made a video 3 months ago about his problems with lead time, from starting a video to actually posting it. The problems he addresses is about the time available to produce something, and the issues creators face moving forward, the problem of growing standards. This is partially due to platform dynamics, getting picked up by the algorithm and other alien hymns that shape visibility for a possible viewer. Why do you think the majority of video essayists are film students, or people with enough capital to hire editors? Because that's what's getting with the winning sign. Aligning yourself with the black boxes of platform visibility. The line goes up, and standards go up with it, though platform standards are hardly a valuable metric for quality. This leads to what I'd call, using language somewhat violently, enshittification. Content creators become obsessed with what is functionally a fancy PowerPoint. But I should concede before I come off like I'm ignoring the obvious. Video essays are an art form too. The spectacle wears new clothes. YouTube is inherently entertainment first, my biases notwithstanding. Even a video about Charlie Kirk's death needs a fancy title card to help sell itself. YouTube is a visual platform. Production costs and visuals are immensely important if you're a larger channel, but at the same time, when these components are made important, you have to spend more time working on them, thus making the release of a video a kind of event. Personally speaking, I miss lower quality content. Anime YouTube just hasn't been the same. Action select, folding ideas, pause and select, Kexi, hell, even Jacob Geller, just to name a few. The act of scholarship becomes a sort of movie release, showing your vigorous editing techniques and cinematography much like a documentary would, leading to a pseudo-dualism between the communication of ideas and the spectacle of communicating these ideas. I really do think lectures are the superior content. This isn't a problem in a sense that is a negative attribute that should be eliminated through rationality. The problem here is a generative condition that produces different responses, each with their own complications. In plain words, it's not a bad thing in itself, and I quite like documentaries.
I don't approach that much anymore because, I've had over 1,000 rejections in real life.
A problem generated by algorithms favoring extreme levels of indie cinematography is one of skill and accessibility. Not everyone wants to dedicate vast amounts of time to produce video essays, but there's alternative avenues for expression. Some specific responses to the difficult environment of platform communication could be writing, microblogging, or in the case of online politics, live streaming. Or you could do what I do and just not take this stuff too seriously. This problem proliferates now with the advent of AI as we now understand it, which has been around for 5 years at this point. Crazy. With the issue of time, because time is the issue of all issues, people can circumvent the time-seeking of research and script writing and focus on spectacle itself. Grifting means different things for different people, but on YouTube, grifting is making content about things you probably don't know anything about, being a mouthpiece for an LLM. I'm far less technophobic than others I imagine I'd be grouped with, but utilizing such a powerful tool to simply appear as an expert is cheating everyone involved, especially the person recording the video. Then again, new technology doesn't make labor, even creative labor, any less taxing. You'll find other ways to produce more with the newfound excess energy by regulation of this or die, or what seems to be your own choice. Hence, slop is produced at a profound rate, especially if you ignore the aspect of visual style. Money is a powerful force after all. I should really get into crypto. But this isn't a big channel, and frankly, Kexi isn't all that big in the grand scheme of things either. So the problems of YouTube can more or less be ignored. Not laissez-faire, but because the niche forests on the internet can make their own rules. I have no aspirations to be a superstar. Thus, I don't need to find strategies to carve my own space in this hostile environment. More people should understand this, and more people should understand that gatekeeping isn't necessarily a bad thing. Gatekeeping is something you do in silence, something that can promote quality in silence. An alternative to wistfully mourning a loss, for example, board culture, move to a lesser known alt-chan or even a Discord server, as Reddit as that is. But the Geist's love for huge productions has a positive effect too. You'll have the ever rarer chance to decide if something's worth saying at all, unwired from the LinkedInification of the online web, where you must constantly promote yourself as if you were a brand, which you are a brand. It's a blessing to have the ability in this day and age to sit in silence and encounter ideas without the tension of having something to say about it. A tastefully and somewhat conservative choice to be simply on the lookout for encounters. Though, to be honest, this video has nothing to do with Kexi. Nothing at all. If I may be confessional, I've been dealing with a similar problem for some time, trying to decide on what I might want to record myself talking about, even extending to my writing, which hasn't been as active as it's once been. There are dozens of projects I'd given up onto due to time and other circumstances, and even within these videos, which are supposed to be random access memories. Topics and rants about things I'm fine with not being part of a larger work. I've written 2 scripts for videos which have been buried for different reasons. One of them being a video about Iyashike and comfort being dependent on labor, and another about a personal fascination with gameplay as opposed to any other element within a game. Both of these had drawn on places antithetical to the purpose of posting these videos. The first one is partially too good of an idea for an impressionistic video format. The second seemed to have required more reading than I'd hoped. Ian Baga's talking about object-oriented ontology during a lecture on game studies absolutely destroyed my hopes at articulating a coherent set of thoughts on video games. I should mention that I totally agree with this essay about video games being better off without story, despite how rudimentary the claim of EMs or medium first really is. I am a man of the people, at least a little bit. If there's anyone out there who understands the imminent disaster of having parallel outputs for energy away from work and school, I'd wager I would understand it a good bit. A wage-cucked university student with a penchant for speaking to a void, if only to be calmed by the silence that soon follows. I'll offer a speculative egg in this trying time, a methodology for approaching possible encounters by flinging the hypothetical waste produced by my fascination with being half-assed. The first point I'll make is don't be afraid to just say shit. The zeitgeist is currently obsessed with microblogging, aka posting on Twitter, aka making retweet dunks on unsuspecting victims, though it's likely engagement farming. I could think of plenty of people with interesting things to say with their own unique perspective on things, such as an animator with experience in the industry, or even someone who pores over video games with formal training in theology. Just name a few. It boils down to a few things: the psycho-political aspect of exhaustion and the execution barrier to even approach the conceivable animal. The outlets online are terrible for different reasons. YouTube is problematic for many of the reasons I've just stated. Substack is filled to the brim with absolute schlock, and in general, a centralized platform intrinsically carries some weight. Production towards content rather than towards meaningful rumination. There is an answer, however, and I encourage everyone to post their work online, even if the act of writing is suspiciously self-directed. There's much to be gained from opening up to the outside. Some good places to start would be Framer, Squarespace, WordPress, Bearblog, and NecoWeb/NeoCities if you're willing to learn HTML and CSS. Point 2. Metrics do not matter. Don't expect to make this your full-time job. There are people with credentials that can't even make this a thing. Frankly speaking, it's a lot. Utilize the silence of a small space. The state is a little bit less observant here. Meta Nomad has a fantastic blog post about this topic. I should mention this. Now, for my own method, which is more akin to a Jamrock shuffle, but for creative labor, the first step is to be on the lookout. That is, do otaku thing. Play a game, watch a movie, read some anime reviews, and if you're feeling brave, visit an art gallery. There are cathedrals everywhere for those with eyes to see it, which is a solid observation by Mr. Peterson. How did this thing make you feel? How did it accomplish this? How might this occur structurally? Does it bother you? This shouldn't be a goal in itself. I don't go to an art museum to consume culture, but if a work doesn't interest me, then I'll move on and see what does. A funny example in philosophy is the existence of Derrida's lectures, now transcribed within the book titled The Animal That Therefore I Am. What sparked this, you may ask? Derrida felt shame when his cat gazed upon his naked body. Everything can be an encounter with a thought. Now, for the researching phase, this can be as light or as dense as you want. There are limits to my capabilities, so for the most part, mine is pretty light. It's as simple as Googling key phrases, texts, and keeping a note of all these things on something like Zotero or some other research software. This can lead to other encounters, of course, and I should mention that a lot of genuinely interesting things aren't privy to be on the first page of Google. You can use your university access to find specific text, Google Scholar, and something like Claude's research mode to find hyper-specific text. Of course, keep in mind that LLMs make up a lot of shit, but it can also pull things that are almost impossible to find normally, like toy philosophy posts now hidden away on the Wayback Machine, unindexed by typical search engines, soon after his writing, which is more freeform than any of the other rather self-explanatory steps prior. There are things I keep in mind in writing. First and foremost is the form itself. When I write, it's rather amateur, of course, but it's also an opportunity to experiment and learn. Writing is a creative exercise. Something I draw upon and would love to draw upon more is the style of theory fiction, which applies ideas and concepts in a way that foregrounds its artifice while utilizing the form of fictional prose to express these ideas, specifically against merely explaining something. This, in my eyes, is generative, but also not the only thing you should be doing, since obscuritarianism is an easy pitfall to fall into. Another is approaching writing itself. Writing is first and foremost not for you. Despite being written by a specific actor, writing itself is writing for the void, translating the fluxes of personal cadence into something of another nature. This is also important for approaching your own writing as you write it. You almost have to split yourself entirely while peering over what you just wrote, putting distance between yourself and the work you've just created, which is properly its own thing. The last note here is self-implicating, but in writing, I write with the goal of positioning my own knowledge and giving it a sort of limit test to understand, seeing if I can understand something enough to talk about it, with the hopes that it can generate ideas and meaning and be educational for someone else. Oh, and the real final step is to somehow shoehorn anime girls into it. Anime girls will solve everything.
Are you fucking retarded?